Well, before I get into some of the silver update, and actually it's not going to be more of a silver update, it's going to be more of a general update on different things, but looks like another JP Morgan banker has died or committed suicide. I mean another one, not the one that was in England and London that fell off or jumped off or whatever the hell it was off the rooftop. This one was in Connecticut. He was found dead in his Connecticut home at age 37. I don't know, people are comparing it to mafia. That's not the mafia, that's the banksters. The mafia don't do that kind of garbage. Anyway, why would they? Why would they? Anyway, there's something else I should mention too, because, a lot of people saying the dollar is going to fall and blah, blah, blah. Well, you know why? Like I said, a lot of it is due to the bureaucracy, right? And I'll give you an example here. This is, it's called the Foreign Account Tax Compliance Act. I know it's been around for a while. Actually, some years ago, they wanted where they have this, what the hell is that bullshit form? I don't like taxes. That's my thing. It's not really my thing, but there's another form out there that you had where people had to report, Americans had any kind of foreign banks, money in any kind of foreign banks, they had to report all of it, or else it was subjected to these massive penalties and stuff like that. Well, now, as of starting, and this is what's going to kill the USA, man. I'm telling you right now. I don't even think any of these I don't even know what the silver bloggers say, to tell you the truth. I don't know what the hell these other people are saying. I don't even pay attention to them. But, I work in the accounting and finance stuff, and I know a couple things. But this is as of July 1st, 2014. It's the Foreign Tax Compliance Act. With the IRS basically will require that all foreign financial institutions provide annual reports to the Internal Revenue Service, right? So in other words, it's going to create a big bureaucracy. And what's going on is a lot of people are going to say, this is foreigners too, foreigners that actually have money in the United States, and you are considered, like, even if you have 10% foreign, if you're a foreigner, you have 10% of your holdings in the United States, that you would come under this. So basically, this act creates, as of July 1st, 2014, creates a direct financial and legal threat to all foreign financial institutions. And there's also the problem of privacy. But what they're going to do is they're going to have to set up something within the government, like say it's in Denmark or UK or whatever it is, within the government, to transfer private information to the IRS directly. So it's not going to go from one private institution to the IRS, it's going to go to a government. But it's creating a big bureaucracy, and actually a lot of the smaller financial institutions, which when you take them up in aggregate, are saying the hell with this crap, they're just going to pull their money out of the United States. Is that going to help the economy? No. This is the game I always said that was going on. It's a common sense game. It's like there's big power centers, and I know there's like a lot of different power centers, but the really biggest power centers are like Russia is one of them, because of all their, even though they're not that far up there on GDP, they're up there on natural resources. But the big power centers are like the United States is one of them, the West. I know I'm going to leave some out, but Europe is another one, China's another one, Russia's another one. And I know Japan's a power center, but it's sort of Saudi, even like Saudi's a power center. I guess I'm leaving people out, but the thing is, there's a struggle between them, an intramural contest. And what's going on is, it's last man standing is where all the capital is going to flow to as a safety. In other words, if everybody's scared of what's going on in the European Union, more money goes into the United States, blah, 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 right? It's vice versa or whatever. But, what's killing the USA, and this is the type of stuff that's killing the USA, is these jerks. They got no common sense. This is where you got like somebody with 50 million degrees with no common sense. They're trying to get more money. The IRS is trying to get more money. But what they're going to do is they're creating so much bureaucracy and regulation that people are saying, we're not going to deal with this stuff. We're just going to pull our money out of the United States. Japan is threatening to do this. The Japanese Bankers Association stated that they're in the event of the implementation of this rule that's going to come about on July 1st, 2014, it's not practically feasible for Japanese financial services industry, and it would result in substantial confusion. So they're going to pull their freaking money out. They're talking about this in Europe, too. He says, so, this is where the USA is going to lose a lot of freaking investment capital from foreign sources. And basically what's going on here is the IRS is going to be shooting themselves in the foot, man. I mean, these guys, this kind of crap is what, this is like I did that video on Russia. Now, I did a video on Russia basically to highlight what bureaucracy really does to an economic powerhouse. Because Russia actually, if they were left alone, they had laissez-faire capitalism, well, all the geniuses they got in that country, they'd be, I don't know, they'd probably be the #1 industrial powerhouse in the world, I think, hands down. They would be. They'd be inventing all kinds of new stuff and everything, but the oligarchy kills it. And the problem is we got the oligarchy in the United States. And I also want to point out that Russia really came about, it's the Bolshevik Revolution. It really came out from the Western powers. And it's always been planned that, the Western, in other words, that, well, you knew this deal. I don't know how many people know about it, but it was even known way back, even in the 30s. That's where a lot of Russia's military might came from. They were being built up during the time of Franklin Delano Roosevelt. As a matter of fact, Russia got all kinds of money from the United States, and that was to supposedly counter the Nazi threat. But all this stuff is also being planned behind the scenes, towards globalism. Even when World War II started, I look at these, I got these National Geographic magazines back there. One of them references at the outset of World War II. So December 7th, 1941 was Pearl Harbor, and you could look like 30 days after Pearl Harbor, even in the printed word, which was already prepared before that time it was printed. It was the January edition, 1942. They talked about the United Nations Organization forces against the the Axis threat. So the UN, before it was even which UN came out after World War II, was already planned in the 30s, and World War II was about a step towards globalism, and World War II was a step to push communism, which basically put more people under one system. And eventually the whole plan is to merge the United States and Russia and China all into one global power. That's why I look at what's going on in Russia, because actually if there's ever a war in the United States where, not a war in the United States, where there's a war with the United States is involved in a war and their troops are busy, you're going to have your hero, since I talk to the people that are saying Vladimir Putin's a good guy, have his boys come over here and then keep peace. You'll figure it out later anyway. So, anyway, this is actually more of a silver update, but if you want to talk about why you should invest in silver, it's all this bureaucratic nonsense that's going on that's actually causing people to what's going to cause people to take their capital and all their investment out of the United States, Japanese and Europeans and you name it, because they're coming up with these new rules that are going to come into effect on July 1st, 2014, that are going to create such a bureaucratic boondoggle that people are just going to say, screw it, we're out of here, man. That's what, I'm just putting it like that. That's what's going to happen. So, and also, this is also a big time penalization of any kind of Americans leaving abroad. I'm not talking about people that, renounce their citizenship. I'm talking about American citizens living abroad, where they're making it more difficult for them and more expensive to do so. It's like they want to pull all our citizens back here. Not that that affects me, but I still think that's well, you know what it is. It's like the general damn thing. Anytime they come out with more and more rules, they kill business. Actually, when you think about it, this is kind of what aggravates me too, even about accounting and finance in general sometimes. I mean, I like the numbers and I like that type of stuff, but, I actually like being in the field where they produce something, either manufacturing or construction. But there's such a big overhead involved in finance and accounting that it stifles true production. And if you really look at the system, it's those connected to the banking and finance industries that have the most wealth. Like if you look at the head of the SEC, they got houses that are worth tens of millions of dollars, or the former head of the SEC or whatever, or former partner of Goldman Sachs has this kind of residence. They ain't doing nobody any good. It's a bunch of crap. So you're going to see a lot more videos out of me on how to do stuff, because I think all these financial gurus are going to go away, and I'm putting some things out here for a reason with finance, because I want people to really understand what's going on. It is the bureaucracy. It's also this, this new ruling that's coming about. The form that's required for Americans that are holding financial assets is Form 8938. I remember that damn thing. It's another dumb form. I don't like this crap. I tell you, nobody does. I mean, who the hell likes filling out forms, right? But when they make them fill out more forms, it's like, if I'm going to make this stapler, and it takes me 8 million forms to make and sell this stapler, because I'm making a penny on it each sale of each one of these staplers, and all the forms in the world is killing me for, in other words, I'd either have to jack up the cost of the stapler or whatever. All that cost is figured in the end product of goods. Anytime they got to pay, $300 an hour, financial wizards to figure out your taxes and stuff like that, it's all figured in the end product of the goods. So actually, I don't know. I really have always been against this, even though I like accounting, finance. But, numbers can also be in engineering, too. So, there's plenty of numbers in engineering. I just like mathematics, I guess, more than that. But the IRS is actually shooting themselves in the foot, because what's going to happen here is they're looking to get some money by, making a rule for more taxation of foreign assets that are in the United States. But at the same time, it's the Foreign Account Tax Compliance Act. At the same time, they're going to cause all the money to disappear out of the United States. The Japanese are heavy investors in the USA, and they're just going to say to hell with this crap. They're going to go somewhere else. Why the hell do you think, some of these emerging markets are doing good? Because the cost of business is cheaper. If there's less regulation, the cost of business is cheaper. Why do you think think American companies, which you can blame them, are going to China? Because the cost of business is cheaper. It's not the labor cost. It's not the labor cost. It's the freaking compliance cost of not just the EPA, but it's the taxes and all the other regulations that are involved. Because the people that figure this stuff out got some pretty damn high salaries, I mean, not that they're not worth it, because it requires, you got to have, I always joke about this shit, because if they didn't have computers, they couldn't even made most of these rules. It's like, back in the 60s, before they had computers, and you didn't even have like a calculator, you had an adding machine, you had to pull the handle and stuff like that. That was the high-tech thing. They had basically the same type of rules in the IRS, but they didn't have as many rules, because, you'd have to do everything and calculate everything by hand. So once they got it to the computers, they came up with all kinds of novel methods of, doing depreciation makers, modified acceleration depreciation rate, and all this other stuff that's out there where you need computers. So even when they got computers to speed things up, they just make more complicated laws. These people are idiots, man. You know what I think they ought to do with these freaking bureaucrats? If they like freaking problems and I think you ought to stick them give them a Rubik's Cube and a loaf of bread, stick them in a corner and say, here, have fun, you fucking idiot. Because, they're ruining the freaking American economy. Bureaucracy. Bureaucracy. So what this rule is going to do, it's coming up July 1st, 2014, and more likely it's going to get impacted. This is going to be the end of the... In other words, if you want a date for when the dollar really, when the United States really starts collapsing, it's not even from the QE, it's not even from the debt, it's from all this stupid bullshit. I don't know what the hell to say, man. This is ridiculous. It's common sense 101. For crying out loud. And yeah, another J.P. Morgan banker is dead. And the mafia didn't do it. The banksters did it. The mafia, don't call them banksters the mafia. The mafia don't do shit like that. The mafia is honored. They're men of honor. The mafia is men of honor. Banksters are not men of honor. They're not even men. They're worms. Okay? I want to get that clear. The freaking, you know, that's a derogatory use of the word mafia, but when you're applying it to the banksters, that's bullshit. That ain't the mafia. That's the banksters. They're worms. They got nothing. They won't stick up for each other. None of them will. None of them will. A bunch of bullshit. Anyway, so looks like you know, not only we got the problem with the, you know, the QE and all this kind of crap, the debt ceiling's going up, and it's, who the hell's gonna, you know, in other words, who the hell's gonna buy the bonds because the QE is tapering and China's not buying the debt and the debt ceiling's going up, and I'm thinking, how the hell are they gonna do that and interest rates be low? Interest rates have to go up, ergo. Oh yeah, and I want to point out something else. You know how they tell you the unemployment statistics are looking pretty good, you know, even though the aggregate unemployed is bad, you know, the overall unemployed out of the total workforce is actually getting worse. They say the unemployment rate is lower. That's the people on the government rolls. There's something actually in the statistics that will shows that the unemployment is going to even get worse. And what it is in retail sales, because remember I even pointed this out at Christmas time. They had like the worst Christmas retail sales since 2009, since like the bottom of the last, you know, crash, and yet nobody got fired yet. The employment in retail is still up there, and the retail sales have been taking a nosedive. Now you figure after Christmas they're not doing well, so it's a matter of time before those people get laid off, and they're going to be showing up on the government unemployment rolls. So expect unemployment to get higher on the government rolls per se, even though they're not. You know, I don't like this. The numbers the government puts out, they're showing you the numbers of people that are unemployed, that are on their government paycheck, you know, getting their unemployment check, right? You know, that's going lower, even though the total unemployment is, you know, I think it was Shadow Stats puts it at 23%. And the actual number of people unemployed out of the workforce is actually higher, correct? Now, if the retail sales, you know, sales figures stay low, which, you know, they should, because, you know, if they had a terrible Christmas, after Christmas is going to be bad. What's going to happen is there's going to be more people off the, you know, going to be getting fired. You're getting laid off, which is going to add to the actual official government unemployment statistics. So I expect that probably to rise, because the retail sector is a major sector in the American economy. The retail sector, you know, it's like manufacturing has gotten small, but actually a big part of the American economy is the retail sector. Retail is, you know, selling foreign goods to Americans, that, you know, stuff that's made in China, they sell it to Americans and stuff. Well, the sales are down. So anyway, I expect, and this is why I think taper is going to go away anyway, you know, because if interest rates go up, that's going to be more problems where there's going to be major capital sales of goods that aren't sold, besides all the foreign capital moving out. Man, I don't know. I can't see how, you know, just this regulation issue is plenty of reason right there to own physical metals. Just the regulation issue is enough reason to own physical metals. And actually, I can tell you right now, you know, I got exposed to some of this stuff, but there's some people out there that got tons and tons and tons and tons of stuff, and it's like, you know, why the hell would they tell anybody, you know? I mean, the Russian oligarchs got freaking ridiculous amounts of money. They don't share it with anybody else that's Russian. They got it, you know? You know? They'll hire some bodyguards to help the economy. Those guys, man, I tell you what. Greedy! Greedy. But, you know, just to ad-lib a little bit about it, the Russian oligarchs and even our elite, they don't know nothing about the Lukovsky coil unless they listen to my channel. And even Vladimir Putin doesn't know about it because he's still getting bald. And if he knew about it, his hair would be growing back, right? Which tells you, you know, when you're elitist and you got a bunch of ass wipes around you kissing your ass, you don't really find out the real information, right? Anyway, Over and out. I just want to point this out that on July 1st, 2014, it looks like we got some new rules coming in with this regulatory rules with the FATC causing, the foreign account transaction, whatever the hell that was, implemented by the IRS, which is going to actually cause a major amount of foreign capital investment to disinvest out of the United States due to bureaucracy and compliance with this stupid bureaucratic dumb law. I don't know, man. These guys are living in, the government's living in, the people in the government are living in an ivory tower. They are. They don't know what the hell's going on, man. It's like they ought to just chill out with this shit and let people do their crap. And the more transactions, the more people are working, the more people that are, making more money, the more that's going to go into the government. So, I mean, by them pushing more and more bureaucracy, that's really what's been the problem. And that's really why a lot of capital has been outflowing out of the United States. And a hell of a lot more is going to be outflowing out of the United States as of July 1st, 2014. So there we go. It's, the hell is that damn thing again? The foreign... just basically taxing all the foreign entities and everything and all the compliance that's involved. And all the Americans that are, the Americans have been getting hit with this bullshit tax for years. I knew about it, I think it started in 2008 or 2009, where they had to report all their foreign income and all this kind of garbage. And there was a big giant fine. The fines are ridiculous. It was on Form 8938. But now, like I said, something else is coming into being. And when this comes into, it's a Foreign Account Tax Compliance Act. When this actually really hits on July 1st, 2014, foreign companies and investment and capital that's the United States is going to pull out. Like I said, the big game is last man standing is where all capital goods and stuff is going to flow to, and this is killing that last man standing. If they ought to get rid of this. This is stupid. I can't believe this shit. But I think Obama is a plant by the Russians, to tell you the truth. I'm beginning to wonder about this guy, man. Guy's a freaking yo-yo from all hell.